All right, so I'm going to attempt to lift this on a 3.5 degree grade. I've got Quikjack's 5000 TL. My driveway is about 3.5 to 6, depending on where you measure it. But it's basically around 3.5 to 4 degrees. The book says don't use Quikjacks above 2 degrees, I think it says. And it says if you do, put spacers under it or something. So that's about all it says. I've already lifted 2 different cars. This is a Nissan Versa. I've lifted a Honda Civic on this driveway. Both directions seemed stable. But what I'm trying to do is just to make it a little bit more by the book. I've got my typical spacers. Let's put magnet. I've got a 2-inch piece of tubing underneath one hinge, a 1/2-inch piece of plywood underneath the other hinge, and that seems to bring it up a couple of degrees. It's not level, but it's within the 2 degree spec. So the driveway's 3.5, and this thing wants to operate in 2 degrees. So you can see there's a bigger gap on one end. So let's try it out here. If you can see that. The button over here. Oh. Just check. Right on the pinch weld. Let it down. Okay. So now how does that look? So so much for that level idea. Obviously the car's oh wow. It's like 1 degree now. Level's way off here though. That's weird. Maybe that's not level. But you can see it's not level there. Alright, so now I can start it up. Okay, so I'm trying to check the temperature of the transmission. I don't know if you can see that or not. But I'm using a CRP 123 by launch, and it says the fluid temperature sensor is 64. Okay, it was 59 a second ago. So I started out putting gear, just waiting that to warm up. I think it's got to be 104. It's actually about 50 degrees outside now today. We just had some snow. I don't know if you can see, there's actually still ice on the ground. Yeah, that's ice. So this car's been sitting in the snow and ice for a few days. Drove it yesterday to move it, to get out the Frontier, but it's just been sitting here, so I'm just waiting. Oh, it's warming up 66, so I'll probably just leave it in gear. I gotta go put my foot on the brakes. So basically I gotta get up to 100 degrees so I can open the drain plug and check the temperature, check the fluid. So I was gonna try using let's just leave it running. What do you want, dog? There's a drain pan. How accurate this thing is. Oh, 69, 67. So that says, 70 degrees. How accurate is that compared to internal? Oh, 69.8. Interesting. There you go. So I can just use my gun. Alright. Let's just leave it in gear going 30 miles an hour. We'll heat it up real quick. So, set that up. Okay, so now we're waiting for the heat up. So it's 78 degrees on the training. The engine's about 107. Catalytic converters 200 degrees. The primary pre-cat. The main cat it's 350 degrees. So I was gonna wait for this thing to heat up. I've actually got it in drive. You can see the wheels are spinning. Just waiting for this thing to hit 104. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open up that drain bolt. Already got it cracked loose. And I'm gonna let out the oil until it to a dribble to make sure it's not overfilled. I have a feeling I overfilled it again. You see this engine's really clean. It's only got, you know, like 91,000 miles on it. And all this oil spill here is when I overfilled it 3 years ago. I put too much oil on this thing. Kind of learn how to check the oil on a CVT is so different than, you know, an automatic transmission. So 82 degrees, it's working. Oh. Let's see, that matches. Oh, that's at 86. If you can read that or not, I can't tell. All these reflections. But OBD2 is telling the computer it's 86 degrees, so we gotta go. Should I floor it? I don't know how we get this thing to heat. Should just drive around the block, but as you can see, I've already got the car up in the air on a level ground. Just testing Quikjacks on a hill. So we'll just wait for it to heat up. So here's the tools you need to check the oil on a CVT. 19mm ratchet and a heat gun, or a good enough OBD2 reader that you can read temperature. It can't just be a regular cheap $20 code reader. It's got to be one that can actually go into the automatic transmission settings or CVT settings and read temperature sensors. But this thing seems to be pretty close. 84 degrees. So wait for the computer to tell us what. Oh, 93 on here. So now they're getting a little bit farther apart. 104 is what the book says. Factory service manual. So we'll come back. Okay, so we can see this. This is 120 degrees now. Oh, this is 102 in my gun. Cooling down. In there. Maybe it's a little low. Okay, so we need to add 4. Instead of adding, I'm actually going to drain it all. Alright, so since the fluid is low, I'm just going to go ahead and change it again. So I've taken out the 19mm. Now I'm going to take out the 5mm. And oh, that was tight. I don't think I've ever taken this one out. I did it on the Sentra, not the Versa. This technically could be the first time that bolt's ever been out. I don't know if the previous owners ever changed this thing. So there we go. Ooh, that's hot. 104. So let me see if I can. There we go. Should be 3.5 quarts. Over 100 degrees. So it's 50 degrees outside temperature Fahrenheit. Right now it's December. So I'm gonna drain all this out. Put in some new Nissan compatible NIS 2 and 3 fluid. Ooh. Oh, that's messy. Let me see. I'm using this Valvoline full synthetic CVT design specifically only for Nissan's NIS 2 and NIS 3. So we'll put that in. That's what I put in last time. I changed it. And then I just changed the Sentra. I'll be curious how much comes out. So the trick to changing this is you take out the straw. Where did that go? Oh, I dropped it in here. This little tube. You see that? It's a little 5mm tube. I need to put that back in. Go up top, put in some funnels, take out the dipstick tube, and put 3.5 quarts back in. So let this dribble a bit. Fun part is getting to that. It's actually right here. Dipstick tube is right there. Nissan service manual says inject 3.5 quarts up through that hole. I don't really have a good, I've got some pumps and everything, but, oh, there it goes, dripping. I don't know if I want to mess with shooting it uphill. Maybe I will one day. But, just changing the oil here. Let's put that back in. Doesn't have to be that tight because the bolt is going to hold it. There we go, put that in large. Okay, so now we can, actually it says in the book to put the fill bolt back in while I'm filling it from the top, filling it. Well, actually it doesn't say that, does it? Wait a second, it says to, no, it says to put the straw back in. No, it says to fill it and then put the straw back in quickly, not spill any. Just gonna put that back in for a second, fill it from the top, then I'll start it back up again, then I'll take this off. Make sure it's 100 degrees, take this off, and then we'll make sure drain out any excess. Okay, so to put oil back in the Versa CVT, I have to remove the battery tray, the little bracket, and then here's the engine computer. Oh, and there's a ground here. I must have forgot to hook that up last time. It goes on that bolt there. Whoops. So now you can actually see the fill tube down there, which I just removed. 6mm bolt, so 10mm socket. And now you can actually get to the dipstick. I'm just going to use this to refill the oil. I think I will learn a way to find a pump the oil back in from the bottom. Maybe that is easier than taking out the battery just to put oil in it. Last time I took the computer out. Yeah, there's a lot of bolts to hold this battery tray in. There's 4 bolts. They're all up here. There's 4 bolts around the corners, and then there's 2 that holds a hose, and then there's 2 that hold a piece of steel that covers these 2 bolts. So that's 4 bolts, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then there's like these 3 clips plus this clip. The computer technically doesn't need to come out. Oh well, let's put some oil in this thing. So here's the dipstick. It's kind of crazy how it still has a dipstick, but they just cut it off. Weird, huh? In theory, I could actually get another Nissan fill tube because Nissan's been using this same style. I think even back in my 74 Datsun had 10mm bolt. Use anything, or even one from my Frontier behind me. Junkyard, get one of these tubes In theory, you could even get a dipstick and check it that way, but actually I think the earlier Ultimas or something with CVTs had a dipstick tube, I read. And just stick it in here as long as it doesn't hit the radiator or something. In theory, I could do that. I may try that next time I'm at the junkyard. I think I'll just buy one of the tubes. Forgot to mention, if you take out the overflow coolant bottle, 1 6mm bolt here, now you can actually see. You see that? There's the fill tube right there. So now, see what I do with the Versa. I don't have one funnel. Oh boy, this is so much harder than the Sentra. Put a funnel into a funnel. Gotta do this last time. Put that in. I like the Sentra so much more. Okay, that's in. I'll just stick that funnel in there, put some oil in this thing. Can you see now? Can you see me? So 3.5 is what the book says. But then we got to get up to temperature and take the drain plug out and drain off any extra. I guess they're trying to make sure that get the right amount. I'm spilling again. I'm good at making a mess. I think I have a flexi funnel somewhere. Need to find a really long funnel or a better dipstick tube. I'll just put the plug back in for the bogus dipstick tube. Double check this thing is tight. There's my ratchet. Okay. Now, made a mess down there. Gotta clean that up a little bit. So to put the battery tray back in, 4 bolts on the bottom, 2 in there. You got 3 wire clips, and then you got this little steel thing that hides these 2 bolts. Not quite sure what the point of this thing is. Shit. If you can see it or not with all the glare. So you need a ratchet wrench for those 2 in there. Everything else you can do with regular ratchet. I mean, all these modern cars, anything made in like the 80s or 90s, don't ever use a wrench because they're put together by robots with ratchets. So sockets are always going to be the easiest. If you have to use a wrench, usually you're doing the wrong process. Something else has to come out first, or something usually. That's what I find. So I always reach for a socket first, and a wrench second. And things will come apart much faster. So, just got the car back together, start it up. Now I gotta go back up into training temperature. A manual, automatic transmission, CVT, whatever. Read current data, main signals. Alright, so there's the next page. There we go. Fluid temperature 91 degrees. Okay, so it's cooled down. So now I gotta wait for that to get back to 104. Then I can take the drain plug out and drain out any extra oil. Hopefully I got enough in. Put in 3.5. I probably should have put in more. That was kind of a pain to take the battery out just to put oil in this thing. So I'll let this thing warm up to 104, and then we'll check the oil again. Okay, so we're at 104. So let's check the oil. Big leaks and came out. That means got more than enough in there. Oh, it's made a mess. That's a messy. What a messy job. Oh, I can't wait to get more electric cars. Like my Leaf. It's pretty clear too. That's good. So we're supposed to wait for it to drip out. Man, this stuff's going everywhere. There we go. Oh man, there's a lot of glares. So many glares. Okay. I don't know if you can see this, but basically the book says, so the Versa, I think the Sentra was 3.5 quarts. The Versa is 2 5/8 quarts. I put it in 3.5, that's why a lot came out. Okay, that makes me feel better. So basically start it up, put it in park, put it in, and then check the temperatures 95 to 113 Fahrenheit. I did. And then, oh, what is it doing? Turn that off. And then remove the drain plug and let it drain from the overflow tube. And then, let's see, then it says perform this is while the vehicle's idling. If nothing's drained, then basically add it. When it slows to a drip, put the plug back in and then turn off the vehicle.